So in my last video, I went over the entire timeline of Santa Claus in the Family Guy universe. But Santa is only one side of Christmas, and in American Dad we actually get to see the other side of Christmas in Krampus over the course of a couple of episodes. So I thought we could take a look at Krampus and just how he ties into the Smiths family as well as the overall story of Christmas within this universe. But real quick guys, we had a goal to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and we definitely did it. And as you guys can see, we're currently up to 1,005 subscribers. And like I said, I just want to thank everybody who has liked my stuff enough to actually go ahead and hit the subscribe button. And I was kind of wondering if maybe we could try and get it to 1,010 before the end of the year. This will be the last video coming up before my year-end review, and I'll let you know if we actually made it then. But let's go ahead and get into the video. So Krampus's backstory is pretty much the same as it is in the real world, accompanying St. Nicholas during the Christmas season, warning and punishing bad children. When Krampus finds a particular naughty child, he will actually just stuff them inside of his sack and carries them off to his lair to supposedly have them for dinner. But Krampus actually plays an important role in helping naughty children turn their life around. He actually does not enjoy punishing the kids, but he does endure it knowing that it is actually what's best for them. In this universe, he actually probably cares more about the kids than Santa does. Kind of ironic and a little outdated, but it's still, the sentiment is there. And the earliest story we have from him in the series is actually in Season 9, Episode 8, Minstrel Krampus, when Jack Smith, as a young boy, captures him and traps him inside of a copper pot. Krampus had intended to beat Jack in order to help him not quite be so bad, but Jack caught him in kind of a moment of carelessness, and he would actually keep him inside of this pot until his grandson, Steve, is brought to him in prison to be essentially scared straight. Steve had become a bit of a brat, and in order to do that, Jack tells him the story of Krampus and how he captured him. But Steve basically just doesn't believe him, and to prove it, Jack tells him to look in the copper pot in his stuff that the Smiths are keeping in his basement. And just real quick here, I just want to say, with everything that Steve has seen up to this point, it makes zero sense that he doesn't believe Jack that Krampus actually exists. I mean, to list a couple of things, he actually lives with an alien who has different personas based off the clothes he wears, and Santa has been trying to kill them every Christmas for a while now, so I mean, you don't really need to prove this, and I get you need to move the plot forward, but it just makes no sense that Steve wouldn't believe him. But in retaliation to them trying to scare Steve straight, he actually starts opening his gifts early, so Stan tries to hide them in the basement, and while he's down there, he actually knocks on the pot and talks to Krampus. The two of them would actually strike a deal, saying that if Stan lets him out, he will scare Steve into being a good boy. Then Krampus is set free, and he immediately goes to Steve's room, throws him in the sack, and kidnaps him, telling Stan that if he wants to see Steve again, he will have to bring him back. Krampus then takes Steve to his castle in Bavaria, where, to his credit, he does actually try and teach Steve a lesson, using a failed relationship as an example, then putting Steve in the dungeon. Also, just a quick side note here, Krampus's helpers are actually just talking bathroom items for no real reason. I don't know, maybe in this universe, this is actually like where the Tales from Beauty and the Beast got the idea. I don't know, but this is just kind of the thing. So while Steve is in the dungeon, his helpers So while Steve is in the dungeon, his helpers actually explain to Steve that Krampus actually cares a lot about the kids he punishes. Like we went over, he plays a vital role in helping kids turn their lives around. Realizing this, Steve and Krampus actually end up bonding, with Krampus telling Steve that he wants to apologize to Jack for failing him, with Steve comforting him, telling him that he is back and now the world needs him more than ever. And this actually might give a real world example as to why people in this world are just so crazy. Like, all of them should realistically have made the naughty list. And this is probably because Jack has had Krampus trapped for all of these years. Unfortunately, Stan, who had made a deal with Santa to kill Krampus after he got Jack out of prison and Jack fled with his car, arrive at Krampus's castle to kill Krampus and save Steve. See, Santa doesn't want to share Christmas with Krampus anymore, since he gives toys to the kids whether they're naughty or nice. We find out that most of Santa's money he uses to fund Christmas comes from toy stocks. This is why he gives toys to all the kids, because the naughty kids getting spoiled and their parents have to buy more toys, making his stocks go way up. But when they get there, they kill Krampus's helpers, and then Santa ultimately shoots and kills Krampus, even though Steve tries to stop him before ultimately trying to kill Steve and Stan. And I mean, at this point, Stan really should have seen this coming. I mean, I don't know how he thought this was going to be a good idea. But this should have been the end for Krampus, except that Jack did in fact return to save Steve. He takes a bullet from Santa and injures him with one of his skis. This causes Santa to flee, but as Jack lay there dying, his blood and Krampus's blood actually intertwine, And through this, Jack becomes the new Krampus, in order to pay back the debt he created by imprisoning Krampus for all of those years. And then he would immediately go out in the world to fulfill his Krampus' duties. But Jack is still Jack. And the next time we see him is actually in Season 12, Episode 7, 90 North, 0 West, where he is in Baltimore driving a bus, having given up on performing his Krampus' duties, saying it was actually just too much stress for him. But he does agree to help the family get to Santa with his Christmas magic in order to save Steve again, taking them through his channel between time and space. Once he gets there, they disguise themselves as fish salesmen and save Steve from having his throat slit when they are captured by Santa, and Jack tries to actually leave. Santa just ends up trapping him back inside of a copper pot. Through the events, he helps knock Santa into the god he was trying to summon to gain ultimate power. And long story that I go over a little bit deeper in my Santa video, but basically it's the Sumerian god named Humbaba, and Santa nearly destroys the North Pole when he awakens him. Santa actually nearly falls, and Jack grabs onto him, and Santa appeals to him, saying that they're the two sides of Christmas, but Jack just drops him into the god. He then tries to drive the Christmas train away, but because of Steve and his Christmas hate, the train actually ends up going backwards and ends up decapitating the god. But by the end of the story, Jack decides to take over Santa's castle. Unfortunately for him, though, Santa doesn't die, so he's pretty much thrown out of the castle within a year. And now, we do see Jack a couple of more times in the series, passing Stan in a car in Season 13, Episode 7, Claustrophy.tv, then being gunned down and killed after a car chase in Season 15, Episode 12, Ghost Dad, where by the end of that episode, his spirit is trapped in the museum that he was trying to rob. Now, in both these cases, though, he is actually not in his Krampus form, so we can actually come to a couple of conclusions there, and that is that one, he's just not Krampus anymore, they just decided to drop that plotline, or he's only Krampus around Christmas. We really don't get an answer, and now that he's dead, we probably never will, and now there's definitely not a Krampus in the world, even though he wasn't really doing the job anyway. Either way you want to look at it though, he is dead, and as of right now, this is the end of Krampus' story. And that is the entire story of Krampus in American Dad, and unfortunately the overall Family Guy universe. But let me know what you guys think. Did I miss anything? Are you interested in knowing a little more about the real Krampus? Please let me know in the comments down below, and if you are, we can try and go into like a more in-depth video on Krampus himself. And while you guys are down there, please remember to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on that notification bell so you never miss another video from me, and I will see you guys in the next video.